He's going to show up and he's
hair.
going to shave his head before he gets there, and no one's going to know who he is. He's going to be able to walk around. It's going to be like Undercover Boss. He'll be like playing at the games.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the reaction phase. You guys know me. My name is Josh, and we are here with the homie,
Louis, Kitchen Table TCG. Super glad to be here with you, buddy. It's been fun. This has been a crazy fun weekend. I know we've been chatting about like the views on the Channel Fireball stuff has been crazy, and the community response to Channel Fireball stuff has been crazy. It's been a fun weekend for Flesh and Blood content creation. That is it's been fun for those who are partaking in it. It's been interesting to see it. It's been interesting to see like the
I'm not watching you dance around like, how do I say it? I'm just saying it has been insane. This weekend has been insane. The community is ablaze. People are popping off and going nuts right now. But before we get into that, you know where you can find this podcast. You can find it every week right here in Hometown TCG, and then every other week over at Kitchen Table TCG. And where else can you find this podcast?
I don't know. Just go subscribe to our YouTube channel. That's what we care about.
Spotify and Apple Podcast. Louis, we got a rundown today, and that's where we want to start today. We are going to start talking about like some of the community response. Oh, you want to say something? Go ahead.
Well, we should probably ask people to review us on iTunes, Apple Podcasts. That's like a thing.
Don't do that. I'm afraid of what the reviews are going to be.
And leave comments and like the videos. That's all.
Or if you review us, lie. Just be super nice.
Just lie.
Just lie.
Tell us we're good. All right. Today we're going to talk about the community's response to Channel Fireball. Obviously, Josh and I have both done some videos. It's been interesting to see people's responses and replies. I thought this would be a good time to have that dialogue, and could be fun to bounce back and forth. We'll talk about events. Both this past weekend, we had a Battle Hardened that was Classic Constructed, and then we're going to talk about the Sonata. We're going to talk about the other stuff too, the new events coming up, and then we're going to talk about the Uprising limited format and some conversations about that. So we'll hit the market after that a little bit, but let's hop into it. We did the intro. You ready to jam?
Dude, I was born ready to jam, and I was never more ready to jam than I was on Saturday when I boiled over. I lost it. It
was the maddest I've ever seen you in a video.
On this podcast, all of you know, and you know that I have been these things take time to change. We're going to wait this out and let's see what's the situation. There's things behind the scenes that I don't understand. But on Saturday, when I saw the history pack bundle, dude, I got to admit, I completely lost my mind. So I was legitimately mad. And those you know me, I'm like you. I don't act on a video. I won't make a video and pretend to be mad for view. I was legitimately mad. Poor Dennis on his birthday too. Had to just listen to me complain for like an hour. Oh,
if you haven't watched those videos, I did a similar video. Go check them out. That's what we're going to talk about. So maybe if you haven't watched those videos yet, maybe hit the pause button and then come back.
I learned this is bad. Don't tell people to go away from our content. Don't do that. Just keep watching this.
We were not happy with Channel Fireball, period.
We were pissed.
All right. Let's talk about it a little bit. I have a couple things to say to start this off. Number one, the biggest response on my channel, everybody in the community was, I would say 98% of the community was on the side of Channel Fireball is trying to kill the game. Like, what are they doing? It was amazing to me. I've never seen so many consumers aggravated at cheap price points on things. Like, I've never seen so many consumers who are like, I want to pay more money for boxes. This is BS.
It's so much more than cheap. Like, when you break it down like that, it sounds so horrible, dude.
Yeah, and there were some other creators who were like focusing just on the price point. And, obviously we talked a lot about on our channels, like it's all about distribution. It's about the amount of product that they're given. It's about all that stuff. But I was amazed that there were so many people. Like, I was worried about publishing my video. I actually had to reshoot my video because I said some words I don't like to say on my channel. I just got too into it, so I had to reshoot my video. There's like 5 playmats that didn't get to see the light of day in terms of ripping. But
so that's right. You were healthier than me. You actually so you were mad like I was, but you took out your anger in the video.
Yeah. Yeah.
I listened to your video while I was grocery shopping. My wife had a food she wanted, so I was at the grocery. So I put headphones in. I listened to your video. I learned what a playmat sounds like when it's ripped. I never knew. I had no idea.
So I was shocked about that, but then here was I think there was a lot of anti-channel fireball. There's a lot of people like agreeing, but the one thing that I didn't anticipate was the amount of people who were like, Louis, like, this is more on LSS than it is channel fireball. Like, so, like LSS gave them the amount of boxes. LSS is the ones who aren't doing anything about it. And a lot of conversation on the reason that they have to sell boxes at this price point is because they printed so many boxes. And there's a lot to digest in that, because then the other side, the only like the 2% of people who were like semi on the opposite side of our videos were basically like, well, we don't know what the contracts look like. And like I get that. Like I get that we don't know what the contracts are. It seems like maybe they should have made better contracts. Like that at the end of the day, the contract is still the responsibility of the company, right? Like if LSS signed a bad contract, that's still on LSS. It doesn't like make it better.
So I was like, hey, we're probably bound by contract. There are things that can't be done, things that can be done. But the phrase, ironically, we had a lot of similar takes. I had no idea that you made a video about this until I reached out to you. It's like, I think I'm going to make a video about this. You're like, do it. I think I'm going to make one. And I was like,
I think I had already done my video. I said,
had you?
I said, go watch mine.
And I refused to watch your video because I'm like, I don't want to, I want my own thoughts about this coming forward. But I was with that, right? I was like, all these contracts and things that I don't understand. And that's why I was in the position I was in. But man, it just feels like so much time keeps passing. And everyone says, well, contracts can be annually or multiple year contracts. Yes, but I would like to hear somebody say, even if it's bound by contract, we don't like this. Like, this is a contract. We can't do anything about it, but this is not the intent. We don't like this. This is bad. This is negative. This is not something we support. Yeah. And if a contract is stopping you from saying that, it's the worst contract in like human history. You can be like, hey, this is a direction we don't want our company to go. This is not something we want. I'm comfortable if someone were to come out and say that. And then we did get an update to some policy and stuff like that, which was kind of cool. But I'd like to see. I'd like that.
I don't think that has anything to do with the channel fireball. That update.
Maybe.
You're talking about they updated the policy to say that sealed product includes box breaks.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know that has to do with channel fireball. I guess you could say maybe that's a preemptive thing to be like, okay, the next step is people doing box breaks and selling below. I think that's more they're seeing the popularity of Whatnot and all these other social streaming platforms, and they want to prevent that from being a place that stores go and dump product. But
okay. But I saw a good amount of that as well. Go ahead.
James White did also say a while ago, after the channel fireball, after you guys got screwed, those of you who got content, there's spoilers, and channel fireball was breaking boxes.
I told you about this. Oh,
what do you mean you told me about this?
No, keep going. I think you're going to say something I know. I'm excited.
Well, James White digged on them in an interview and was like,
hell yeah.
Yeah, like he did say they effed up. So he said publicly things like that.
Right.
Here's the thing. October 20th, 2022, or sorry, October 20th, 2020 was the day that they announced the deal with Channel Fireball. That's the day that they came out and said LSS is partnering, official content partnership with Channel Fireball. Okay. So if you look at it year to year, it looks like we're dealing with this at least until October of this year. I assume the contract's not like some sort of abstract number, right? Like
11.2 months. Yeah.
I'm assuming, I know I'm doing a lot of assumptions here, but I'm assuming that it's something like 2 years, 4 years, something like that. And so we're here, we have this for the next at least set, and even into probably the next set. So I don't know. I was just shocked that the community was so, I haven't seen the community this united about something before. And that gives me confidence that LSS needs to say something. If everybody in the community is voicing concern and opinion. I mean, Rudy's doing videos. I know they don't care what I have to say, but I did a video. Like, you did videos. People
They care
who
less what I have to say.
like people who like at the Facebook groups, everybody was like, finally people are talking about this. Stores. Right. I mean, like, first off, let's talk about Rudy's video. Like, the idea of buying from Channel Fireball, I think, is so dumb. Like, I love Rudy. I couldn't tell if he was being tongue in cheek with it, because I feel like he was being tongue in cheek with it.
I think it points out, and I think it's meant to send a different message than someone. I pointed out in my video, I'm lucky enough to always approach Flesh and Blood from the consumer and player standpoint, because I don't have a store. I don't have a distributor relationship. Yeah. I never have. I probably never will. But his video seemed like it was meant for above me. It was meant to, like, if I walked into your boardroom and said, hey, guess what? I can order this from Channel Fireball cheaper than I can get it from you.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? It kind of meant like the video had a message, and the message was above me. And that's the way I took it. Yeah.
I took it more as like a tongue in cheek, like, this is ridiculous. But here's why I don't, let's pretend that he was being serious. Which there is some lines to, like,
of course,
I've said it on my videos, I should just order from Channel Fireball instead of distribution. It makes more sense. But it truly doesn't make more sense, because, and I didn't know this until I started the store. Like, I didn't really understand this. I actually just am now learning this, to be honest, as I get more into Magic and Pokemon as a store, that, like, the relationship with your rep, your representative, is so important. And if I went to my rep and was like, sorry man, I just ordered boxes from Channel Fireball, like, I'm guessing he would be pretty upset. Like, that's how he makes his money. And then he's not going to get me more of the first edition release. He's not going to work his butt off to get me more of this product or that product that at release or whatever, if I'm, like, dissing him and buying from Channel Fireball in another way. Like, that's just, like, not how it works. So the difference, though, and the people who are like I've heard other content creators be like, I don't understand the issue. Like, just buy from your LGS, just pay more money. The problem is that LGSs can't even get the dang product. Like,
so I want to jump in. Yeah,
I haven't been able to order Arcane Rising since 3 months before it was out of print.
Yeah, I want to jump in on that. And I think there was, because I've heard the same thing, and this is something I think I was actually named by name. I think they got my name wrong, but my channel right, because I'm popular. Gosh darn it.
All right, people like Joey.
But the issue isn't, like, let's put the price thing aside. First of all, the idea that you should just pay more to support someone exists, and I support that to an extent. People deal with different levels of financial freedom and financial availability, right? Some people can't pay more. Like, that's a thing. So putting that aside, the issue that you just brought up is that stores can't even get the product. And one of the solutions posed by some of these people that maybe don't see things the same way you and I do is, let's focus on History Pack. History Pack, it's not meant for you. You just order unlimited. So I reached out to MinMax. Everyone knows at this point, MinMax sponsors this channel. I have a great relationship with MinMax Games, and they are a gigantic FaB dealer. And they deal
with a massive ton of Flesh and Blood product.
I have seen how much Flesh and Blood they move on a weekly basis, and it reassures me that I don't want to be a store. There's so much.
I know this because they helped me with some allocations on Everfest.
Yeah. Let's just leave it at that. But I reached out and I said, hey, this is something that was proposed to me. Can we just do this? Because I don't want to speak about something I don't know about, and I'm not a store. And they go, dude, we told you we haven't been able to get, like, Arc, Welcome to Wraith. I said, yeah, but you talked about these relationships. You have these all-time awesome relationships with these people. Can you just get the hidden Arc and WTR that doesn't exist? He's like, no, I'm telling you, it does not exist. It's not a thing. So the notion that a new store could, like, pop up and order Arc or WTR is not a thing. And also, a new store who doesn't have a heavy history purchasing Flesh and Blood, trying to build a community, won't have access to History Pack #1 either, because they don't have that distributor relationship on a highly allocated product. Yeah. So It's the combination of these things that make this perfect storm. And I want to be clear, I'm not sitting here just bashing one end of this. It's the fact that all of these factors exist all at once that breaks my mind, and I can't answer the question, why would a new store carry Flesh and Blood? These stores, you're famous for the line, a store has to make money.
Yep. The only product currently available on Southern right now to order.
I know it. I know this one.
What?
Is it Tales of Aria Unlimited?
Tales of Aria Unlimited. You can also currently still pre-order Everfest Unlimited.
Yes.
And Uprising. So it's like, what are you supposed to carry if you're a new store? There's no thing. There's actually a distributor who sent an email out a long time ago, and like I didn't ever want to talk about this, but here we are. They sent out an email, and this is first off, I hate this distributor. I think this is like, if there's a distributor who plays games, it's
don't burn a bridge. Don't burn a bridge on my channel. You don't burn it. Set it on fire.
If there's a distributor who plays games, it is this distributor. It's MVP Sports and Games, which I don't know what their actual distributor is, but basically said, we've recently had, this was back on 1/7/21. So after the big boom, Channel Fireball got in, right? Like prices spiked up. New stores were coming on daily, whatever. We've recently have several questions regarding the new Flesh and Blood card game. After inquiring, we discovered that the creators of the game apparently decided to use a type of distribution model that currently makes it about impossible for most stores to consistently acquire sufficient units for pre or post sale. Rather, they have chosen only a few smaller, less reliable partners to get the bulk of their units. We do not do, and they use bait and switch business, but we are not carrying the line at this time. Their decision, unfortunately, is also what is making price gouging and speculation market skyrocket, rather than just making it easy for new players to get their hands on and enjoy the game. We encourage players to reach out to them on their social media channels, blah blah blah, if you want them to have distribution similarly to Magic, Pokemon, Yu-Gi-Oh. And like when I first heard that, I was like, all right, this is just like some salty distributor who,
it sounds like a significant other scorned or something like that. Do you know what I mean? Like a partner scorned or something.
Let's talk about how inappropriate it is for like a business to send out an email to, like, this was sent out to consumers.
Right.
Like, I wasn't a store. Like, this is like sent out to consumers.
It crosses a line. Part of this is partner scorned. Like, they're just mad. I didn't get enough. Stop my feet.
There's a huge issue on that side of it. But like, I never even thought about that until the last 3 months when it's been so hard to get product. And I was like, oh man, like a lot of what they said is, there's probably some sort of middle area here. Like there's there's white, black, and now there's a gray area here. That's probably a lot of truth, where like, man, it's just so hard to get product as a store. And I don't know, like, I know like other markets have issues too, like, but I don't know. I think we need a third distributor in USA. I think that would solve a lot of issues.
I don't know. I can't co-sign that because I don't know necessarily. Again, I'm not a store. I don't know how that works. But I can tell you one thing. The one thing everyone in the community wants is, we all want Flesh and Blood to grow. I don't care how you consume Flesh and Blood, and that was never more evident than this weekend, right? The whole community just says, and even people who disagreed, and this is to their credit, people who disagreed with a point that I had or a point you had, because we didn't necessarily have the exact same points. We kind of differed a little bit from time to time, but I watched your video, man. Give me some credit. Don't look at me like that. But even those people were like, I'm saying this because I believe this is in the best interest of Flesh and Blood growing. And that to me is kind of a light at the end of the tunnel. It's just like FaB 2.0, where there's a lot of ideas going around. There's a lot of positivity. There's a lot of negativity. Nobody's like, oh, I can't wait to see this die. I can't wait to watch this train crash. Everyone's like, no. We're passionate about this because we want this to explode. And that was a cool element of everyone kind of, circling the wagons, even with different ideas, but it's very circling the wagons. Well,
and I think this is like what I was trying to say. Like, nobody was upset. Nobody was like, no, I want to pay cheaper prices. So if you were around, what do you think I would, sorry, I'm just going to play a game. What do you think was the most unifying aspect? So what do you think was the most unifying aspect of our community in early mid 2020 and early 2021? What unified the entire community?
Was that around the time of Monarch?
Yeah, like kind of leaning into that, like around that time. What was the conversation, the unifying piece for the community?
I hold true that around that time, the big word on the street of Flesh and Blood that was bringing a bunch of people in was the market, right? Prices and boxes and stuff like that. That to me was what was bringing people into Flesh and Blood. But I don't understand the question.
I'm just trying to make content, but here we go. So I think the unifying piece for us as a community was the LGS.
It was the LGS, Louis. You had the LGS.
Listen, you had Secret Lair from Magic being pumped, right? Like it was like just coming out. And then you had all this stuff going on with Magic. They were getting rid of Pro Play. They were getting rid of all this organized play stuff. They were pushing Arena. And meanwhile, LSS was like, no, we're going to be for the LGS. And everybody hooked on to that. Like, I maybe I'm projecting. I hooked onto that. That's what I fell in love with. I went to my buddy Carl, who owns an LGS. And I was like, dude, I know you're struggling right now. Why don't you pick up Flesh and Blood? This is what they're trying to be. This is what they're trying to do. That's what got me excited for the game. And I think got a lot of people excited the game. The whole collectability aspect of it, the rarity aspect of it, that was part of it. The first edition, I mean, the whole idea of first edition is going to move really easily for stores. It's going to be like, there was a lot of conversation of like helping the local game scene and being grassroots, being really at the level of growth was going to be at the LGS level, and it was going to be really grassroots. And that was the goal of this company. And I think that when people see the Channel Fireball stuff, they say, that's not what I signed up for. I wanted my LGS to be able to sell me boxes at $80 a box. And I know that the LGS is making money. And for me, that's a healthy price. And I'm excited about it. Like I think $80 a box is where Unlimited should be. Somebody was like, Louis, where do you, somebody was leaving comments. They were like, well, how are the people who don't have stores around them supposed to get product? It's like, the answer is like, Channel Fireball sells $80 boxes and there's no issues.
Yeah, I responded to that same comment as well. I said, I think there's a way to do both.
Yeah, Channel Fireball just sits on their product, and everything, stores sell for $77, $80, whatever. Like, that's a healthy price point.
Yeah.
And I think the issue is, like, it seems like it's become in the US market. Again, I don't know. I can't speak on the European market. If I was a European content creator, I would probably not be talking about this because I don't know what I'm talking about because I'm not in the market.
That's my favorite comment that I've gotten is like, you're just so US centric. I'm like, yeah, you're probably, I mean, that's
like, I don't know what's going on. I hear it. And I know there's some things that are really good. I know that there's some distribution issues in Europe too, but like at the end of the day, like I know this market, and like this market, it's not working with Channel Fireball. No. And I think the community wrapped around this idea. I think when they see that, they don't want Channel Fireball to win. Like nobody wants Channel Fireball to win. Like you don't root for, unless you're me, you don't root for the Empire in Star Wars. Like
that's I don't care. So I gotta think about this before I say it, because I don't. It's like Channel Fireball. If they're on an even playing field with my local game store, the places where I go to play Flesh and Blood, I don't care if Channel Fireball makes a nut off this as well as my local game store. I want my local game store to be able to carry this game. I right now, and I've postulated this question till I'm blue in the face. How does a store and a community get started in Flesh and Blood? Right now, if you're a game store and you see what Channel Fireball is selling boxes for, you cannot justify putting this product on your shelves. You can't do it because as much as we want to say, hey, go buy from your local game store, support the little guy, support the new community, people will do that. But for the majority of their product, and again, this could be an American-centric point of view or whatever it might be, but that's the way it works. The majority of product will be purchased from Channel Fireball still because the prices are so much cheaper. We're talking 20 to 30% lower. It's insane. So until we can have a community where I don't care if Channel Fireball wins or makes money.
Yeah. If my local I want them to burn to the ground. I'm just saying nobody's rooting for them.
No, but if I'm rooting for a store to be able to start as Flesh and Blood? I asked this question to Mike in the MetaZoo Discord during an FAQ. It was, if I'm a new store, how do I make MetaZoo one of my pillars of business? I want to open a game store. I have no history. New game stores are going to pop up. How do I make MetaZoo? How do I make Flesh and Blood one of the pillars of my business? I want, I'm going to have Magic and stuff, but I want to be a Flesh and Blood store. That's what I want to do. I want to know what the route to that looks like with prices like this out there. And that's my big concern. It takes stores like that or existing stores willing to build a new pillar of business to create more Flesh and Blood communities around the country and eventually around the globe, right? That's what I want. And this is the problem. So I don't care if Channel Fireball wins. I want my LGS has to win as well.
Yeah, I agree with you. Like, sorry, you read me wrong if you were like, I want Channel Fireball to lose. I think Channel Fireball brings some great things to the community. I talked about this on my channel. Like, the Channel Fireball content creators, like, they support those content creators. Those content creators get, like, they need that money in order to be full-time content creators or even part-time content creators.
And they make good content.
And they make great content. And like Channel Fireball is I don't know if that's part of their contract. I don't know what that is, but Channel Fireball brings that, and that's good. That is a win for the community. I don't want Channel Fireball to go away. I don't want them to burn to the ground. I just want them to be on the same playing field as if we had never said Flesh and Blood is for the LGS. If we had never said that our goal and our mission and our drive was to be for the local game store, I would have absolutely no problem with Channel Fireball. You don't hear me complaining about their Magic the Gathering deals. Like, their Magic the Gathering deals are infinitely better than their Flesh and Blood deals. You go and buy a new Capenna draft box right now at Channel Fireball. You get like a full art Path to Exile. You get like 6.
Oh, you get all the lightning bolts and everything like that. Yeah.
You get like $50 worth of promos.
And I just don't like that argument because Magic the Gathering is that battleship, right? It's so large that when Channel Fireball does this, maybe it's a small hole, but there's a million people working on the problem, and they have so much staff. They just fix the problem. Because the Amazon.
But it doesn't. This is why it doesn't matter, because if I, as a store, as a brand new store in a community that if I host a Friday Night Magic and I say, hey, we have Friday Night Magic, I'm gonna get 10 people there, even in my small community. Like, there's people who play Magic already because the game's been around for 30 years.
And that's my point. This hurts Flesh and Blood more than it hurts something like Magic.
Way more.
Because Magic is this gigantic established just machine. And Flesh and Blood, we're still small. And that's okay. We're still newer. That's going to happen. We want to continue to grow. But a blow like this, you hit the battleship with that shell, it doesn't sink. You hit us direct with a big enough shell, we start taking on water, man. And we can't do that. So we're on the same page. We definitely know that something needs to change. And I don't want to, I guess I don't want to keep going on about this. We know that we want.
I could talk about this forever.
I know. We know we want something to change. I also know that it all comes, like I said, the community all comes from such a positive place when it comes to Flesh and Blood. And we just want to see this growth and this game succeed because we love it so freaking much. And we love it enough to literally travel around the world to Flesh and Blood events. And the transition is not nearly as effective if you call them out, just so you know.
It's way more funny, though. It's way more fun.
Speaking of events, we want to talk about some of the events coming up. We got 2 big ones. We have Pro Tour 1 in New Jersey. So Pro Tour 1, is it Pro Tour 1 USA? I think it's just Pro Tour 1, right? Pro Tour 1 in New Jersey. And we have the world premiere Uprising in Vegas.
And
these are going to be nutty.
This past weekend, a Battle Harden, which is where we were supposed to start with this discussion.
I thought we were skipping over the Battle Harden because we get to talk about Pro Tour. What do you mean? Rudy's going to Pro Tour. Let's go.
Battle Harden. It just needs to be said. We had Starvo in the Battle Harden.
Oh yes,
I wish I knew how many people were there. Did you find that out by any chance?
I did not. I also stopped looking.
I had nobody. I know nobody that went. I think I knew just Patrick Weiss that went.
Oh, okay.
But and cool. he did not respond to my message of, hey, how was the turnout? They didn't do any coverage. They didn't do any, like, I was like, the event did, like, basically seemed like it didn't exist. I don't know.
It was, I mean, it was a smaller battle heart, and I think we're going to see it kind of like we did with Atlanta and stuff like that. It was one, and as we get closer and closer to Pro Tour New Jersey, I think it's going to be less likely that we see large turnouts at things like this because, I mean, travel time and expenses and stuff like that. It's a lot to go to New Jersey. I still think I'm not going, and I really want to go to New Jersey.
I'm not going.
Oh God, I'm torn about going. I don't want to. We said we're not talking about Channel Fireball.
Do you want to start talking about that? Because that's been a dialogue with a lot of people of like, why am I going to pay Channel Fireball $50 to go to their event or $100 to go to their event if I don't like Channel Fireball? Like
that has been a dialogue with me as well. But it's much like I mentioned. Like we have a ProQuest that's supporting a player and a family that's part of a local pod of us, and it's an awesome experience. It's an awesome opportunity to, like, again, I've used this phrase twice now, circle the wagons and rally together. And it sucks, in my opinion, that Channel Fireball is like the host at the core of this, but I am still wrestling with the idea of like, is this time to just put that aside, circle the wagons, and celebrate everything that is Flesh and Blood? That's
not the reason that I am not going. I've already said that I'm not going because the organization of it didn't happen early enough for me to schedule my life.
Right. I'm telling you what I'm personally wrestling with. I'm not talking about what you're right. I'm saying I'm personally wrestling with that notion right now that I am mad. I mean, I used a swear in the beginning of my video, and I don't use swears on YouTube. I use swears in private conversations, but not on YouTube. I used a swear. So I'm pretty mad, but at the same time I'm like, did
you put a quarter in the swear jar?
No, I don't have a swear jar. I don't have kids yet, so I don't have to. I can just say all the curses that I want, Louis. It's great. You should try it.
Happens certainly.
But we got these big events.
That doesn't go away just because you have kids. Promise you.
I'll tell you. Hold on. Let me write that down. But we got a couple people coming to Pro Tour New Jersey. We got the official announcement that James freaking White is going to Pro Tour New Jersey. I think it was said a while ago, but the FaB Twitter account did the post and was like, coming. We got some artists coming.
Beautiful hair. He's gonna show up. He's gonna show up and he's gonna shave his head before he gets there, and no one's gonna know who he is. He's gonna be able to walk around. It's gonna be like Undercover Boss. He'll be like playing at the games, and you won't know that it's him because he shaved his head. Until
you sit down at the table, you pull out your phone, you see your opponent James White, and he sits down across from you, and he just goes. Dude, that would be the biggest baller move if he just like shaved his head and showed up just completely different. Like, oh my God, everyone would be like, "What is going on?" So yeah, James White
beats you with Azalea.
Oh, he breaks the meta. Like the man.
I don't know what you guys have been doing. I don't know what you guys have been doing, but you're not very good at this game.
And then just looks, and it probably just with a super cheerful demeanor just gets up and like, "Hey, great game." Sticks his hand out, shakes your hand, and be like, "Better luck next time," and turns around and walks away. And you're sitting there like the Tasmanian devil just rolled over you. You got the dirt falling off. You're like, what just happened? What just went down?
Rudy's gonna be there too. That was like a weirdly controversial thing on the Facebook group. I was like,
controversial?
Gosh, there was like a lot of people who were like, "Well, I'm out. I'm not going because Rudy's going." I was like, you're not going because Rudy's going like that. Like you're never gonna see Rudy at the entire thing. Like
that's like I'm not going to Vegas last year because the professor's gonna be there. Like what? None of this makes. Just don't shake his hand. Just don't talk to him. Like what?
Yeah.
I don't know. I can't believe Rudy's going. By the way, that picture they used of Rudy. How old is that photo?
It's like the original. That's the original picture on his Patreon too.
How old, Rudy? You gotta update your resume.
No,
dude.
he looks good. He looks good. He looks less stressed.
You saying he doesn't look good now?
He looks way less stressed.
I think he looks great
sure.
now. I think you're a handsome fella, and you can update that resume, my guy.
That's funny. I noticed that too. Though. I was like, oh gosh,
I did. I saw the post. I was like, oh wow, that's
all the
we got a bunch of artists. Artists gonna be there.
Cool.
All the FaB content creators except maybe you and me.
Yeah, well,
I've got major life events that
I don't know what it looks like to be asked by Channel Fireball to be at the event. Like if they're fitting the bill, that makes it a little easier to get there. I'll tell you that much.
You don't understand. Just so you know, every time that you make one of these self-deprecating jokes,
No, I'm not
it's
deprecating. I'm
it's
just saying I don't know what it's like. I don't
it's
know.
like the ugly guy at school is like, yeah, at least I'm smart because I'm so butt ugly. And then
no, like I
the
don't know.
even uglier guy is looking at you like,
Did you get an email that
really?
was like, "Hey, are you
Really?
going to the event so
Really?
we can announce if you're going or not?" I
No.
presume that they're like, "Hey, we want you to go. Here's a
No, but that's what I'm
stipend."
saying. When you're like, I didn't get that, I'm like, yeah, well, you're in line in front of me. It's like being at
I'm
the
not in
food
line.
kitchen.
I don't,
you're
and
in
I
line
don't
in
want
front-
that. Like, I that would not make me go either. Like,
It
I can't go.
It would make me go if
I
someone
can't go
paid my
because of
way.
the kids. That's why I can't go. It's not money.
I could go.
There was
if somebody
zero. I
wanted to pay
want it
my
to be
way.
known. I want it to be known. There's zero entitlement attached to that. I do not feel entitled to have any of that.
Always punching down, man.
I'm not. I'm protecting me before somebody accuses me of being entitled for that. I don't feel like editing right now, so like I got to edit the video on your channel anyway. So
you always when
oh wait, no, you
like
did the one
this,
with George. You did you did the one with George, and you did a fantastic job, even though I didn't send you any of the stuff.
No assets. No, I've asked for this too in the past. Oh, yeah. I have asked for this.
In my defense, I was vomiting. No, that was the day before. Never mind.
Either way, you had kids. You were on vacation. It's no big deal. We made it work. George, by the way, can we get George back? Like, when's the next time you're gonna be out of town?
No.
No. Okay. So
that made me more uncomfortable than it should have. This is supposed to be a safe place.
I think he threw a dig or two your way, and I was like, yeah, I can be down with this. I'm in.
Yeah. The events. So Pro Tour, I wish I can go. I still might like last minute it. Like there's always a chance that like things open up and I last minute it. That's always on the line.
I'm the same. What's the drive like for you? How many hours?
Oh, I don't know. I'm not driving.
Oh, I think it's like 13 for me, 13 or 14.
That's ridiculous. Oh, you don't fly.
I hate flying. Guys, viewers, flying terrifies me. I don't like it.
Yeah, that's terrible. No, I had a better chance of going to Vegas. And then they put Vegas in the middle of the World Series of Poker, and flights are $900 like minimum.
I saw that too.
And now it's a little bit more about money. It's like I think my last trip to Vegas, it was like $230 for flights. I'm gonna take this time to call someone out. My last trip to Vegas, I did my whole travel plans with a guy who used to be on this channel making content with me. And then he got all, is his name Joey?
It might be. I'm a famous actor. I got famous actor jobs and jet set it off to California. And I was like, hey, I'm going to fly from here. So the expensive travel plans you made so we could go together, didn't have to do that. Enjoy that. I'm going to fly to California and then go to Vegas. I was like, nice. If Classic. You weren't so devilishly handsome, I swear to God.
Well, like, I don't know, like that. And that's been a,
It's very last minute. So Vegas did come out. Vegas was dropped when Uprising was announced, and the consensus is it does feel extremely last minute. A lot of people are saying I might not be able to make it because it's just too last minute.
Screw it. I'm gonna be the negative guy. This is unbelievable. Like it is to expect. So here's the difference. Maybe they just want this to be a regional event. Like maybe like. I feel an expectation as somebody who loves Flesh and Blood and cares so much and loves the game and makes content. I feel like there's an expectation of me to go to events like this.
You're not the only one.
Like on top of it, it's my job, right? Like I feel like viewers expect me to go to at least one of these events, and I want to. Sorry, like don't get me wrong. I want to go to the events. But I have 2 kids, a wife who works nights in an ER, and not a whole lot of family around, and like a month is not enough time for me to make plans. A month and 10 days or whatever it was.
Right.
And I'm not alone. And on top of that, your key demographic for this game, your number one demographic is I don't want to be sexist, but males the ages 28 to 35 is the number one demographic on our channel.
I was going to say 25 to 33. The young folks like the hometown TCG.
Well, I don't actually. It's around there, 25. Anyway, but like that's the main demographic of the game, which is like a working. That's like and working class too. Like that's
time off work, planning, enough time ahead to get cheap flights, affordable hotel rooms. Yeah,
maybe in New Zealand you can do that. You can't do that here. Like it just doesn't work. Like if you have a job, you can't just be like, "Hey, I'm gonna leave in a month." Like you have to plan it better. And I know there's gonna be people in comment. I have no problem getting off work. That's not an issue. I get it. But for let's say 50% of the people can't go because that means 50% less events. I'm like terrified to know what the number is at Vegas this year.
And that's right. Terrified. And if I can't go, the thing that worries me is I'm in a position. I have a wife, but I don't have kids. I have a dog that had ACL surgery, but by then she should be walking up and down stairs on her own. So they don't need big, strong me to carry the little dog around the house because that's what I've been doing for like 2 weeks now. But I am probably the key demographic for on a month and 10 days notice can drop everything and get out there. I have a strong enough job to pay for the expenses, but even I am like, wow. This is tight. I have a good amount of resources. I have a good amount of free time. I have a bunch of time off work that I never take that I can take. And even for me, I feel like, again, the target demographic, it's tough. And then add on, I do this as my second job. Essentially, my favorite hobby in the world. I do flesh and blood as a second job. And I still am like, I don't know if I can justify it on the short notice. And if it turns me off a little bit, right? I'm like, ooh, how many more people are going to be turned away? Because unlike you, like flesh and blood's not my main job. I could go to Vegas, make no content, and be completely fine. Like I could do that. And as the general consumer that event would be for, who can drop everything and afford to go to it, being like, wow, this is really tough. I don't know if I can do it. That makes me a little bit nervous. But I think this is a cool opportunity. I mean, maybe the community shows out. Maybe the community says, screw it. We don't care. We're showing out. Or maybe it's the notice that, kind of gets stuck in the craw. That's like, oh, maybe we need to give a little more time.
Well, and like, I don't know, like this comes back to having a U.S. representative, and like the worst side of this in the world, in my opinion, is Channel Fireball the U.S. representative? Are they the ones who like are like calling
planning
the shot?
Things on the weekend of the World Poker Tour?
That doesn't seem
Super Bowl, and on the Super Bowl weekend and on Easter side, like that doesn't seem like Channel Fireball is the U.S. representative, because Channel Fireball doesn't want this event to be small. They don't win. They don't win if the event's small.
When is the Magic event? That
I sent you this screenshot, and I feel like you're setting me up, and I love it because I'm going to knock this out of the park. I sent you the screenshot that Magic Fest in Vegas is the same weekend, same days.
Gosh, Channel Fireball doesn't middle of World Series of Poker.
Yeah, the Magic Fest is the middle of World Series of Poker.
Like that's rough. That's stupid.
Flights are spendy. But Magic Fest, Magic Fest is not the world premiere of anything, and there's several Magic Fests that are more regional. Sure. And I don't think any of the Magic Fests are like world premiere events like the Flesh and Blood one is. So I think maybe it's almost more acceptable for Magic the Gathering because it's not supposed to be this big unveiling, right? It's just another Magic Fest.
Well, and it's also pretty close to Pro Tour, so like I would expect the numbers are going to be way down compared to last year for Vegas.
I'm worried about that because I'm not saying if the numbers are down, it's like, oh, it's killing the game. I'm not making that claim. I just always like to see the numbers high. I like to see so many people gathered in one place, really 100%. getting the hype and the ideas, especially for the world premiere. Man, can we just talk about how sick the world premiere, the Vegas one was?
I love it.
You ran up in my face with a camera. I was like, what is going on right now?
I literally love that so much. And like, I was stoked to go back to Vegas. I was like telling my wife, I was like, yeah, it's going to be probably sometime September. Like, October, September.
I did the same thing. I said sometime in August, I'm going to be gone. Yeah.
Yeah. Like whenever it was, I guess I probably looked at my calendar when I talked to my wife. But it was like, hey, like this is going to be a yearly thing. Like we talked about it. And then like all of a sudden they're like, hey, next month, we're going to Vegas. I was like, honey,
Boom.
I was like, I'm not even gonna ask my wife. Like, it's not even like a. It's like, I know how that conversation goes.
Yeah, you put her in a position where she wants to help you at the same time. It's such an inconvenience, and you're being such an asshole by asking.
I hope Pro Tour is that new one then. Like
me too. And I think I got high hopes for Pro Tour. Give me your spec. Do you have high hopes? Are you psyched that Pro Tour is good? You think 4,000 players at Pro Tour?
I have no clue.
I think we're gonna get 12 to 1,400.
Haven't they like not even released the side events yet?
It doesn't matter. I think we get 12 to 1,400, and that's hype, dude. I think I'm excited. What Vegas was. I thought Vegas was like 11.
I think the official player number was 12. I think they said there was like 12 to 1,400.
Yeah, you're probably right. I don't know why I was pedantic over 100 people there, but
it
just came out and I couldn't take it back, so I needed to lead in.
The bigger thing though is like I don't know, New Jersey compared to Vegas. You may have a lot of people who are like, I don't want to go to New Jersey. I don't know. Okay, let's talk about the poll. Like, I want to go to New Jersey because Pro Tour 1, James freaking White, Rudy, and all. Like, so I want to go to. But then, what's the demographic? 28 to 35-year-old males with expendable income and time off. I kind of also want to go to Vegas. Much rather go to Vegas. If I'm gonna spend time with Rudy, I would want it to be in Vegas. Not that Rudy would go to the casino and do penny slots with me like I did the entire time I was
about to say, I think Rudy might enjoy Vegas differently than you and I do. That's a lot of assumptions. Rudy might be a very frugal man. Dude talks about Taco Bell a lot.
I think that Rudy probably doesn't gamble that much.
I think that's very. We're making a lot of
Rudy. The only gambling Rudy makes is eating Taco Bell at midnight.
Hey, and what's the demographic? 28 to 35. That's a gamble, my friend. Okay, so we got these events coming up. It's right now on the paper. I'm with you. I'm scheduled to go to neither, but I'm at that point where I'm like, I kind of might pull the trigger last minute. Poor Dennis is like sitting there. I might decide the night of, and we're gonna drive to Jersey together, like the night of.
Horrible.
Yeah, I told him not to wait for me. He's like, no, it's fine. I'll wait. Like, oh, that sounds horrible. And I might do the same with Vegas, not drive. I would have to fly to Vegas. I'd have to like sedate myself and fly to Vegas. But you're not going to either. Caveat, point, you might.
If I don't make it to one of these events, I will be very, very disappointed. Vegas was very good for me in terms of like content creator, falling in love with the game again, being happy. It was really good.
Table. Oh, sorry.
No. All penny slots, baby. The penny slots are the way to go. You sit on the penny slots, put it for $100. You drink for free for like 3 hours. It's great,
dude. Yeah, but you get one drink an hour.
Yeah, not the way I do it. You got to learn how to tip people better.
Oh, don't. We're going to Vegas together.
All right. Speaking of tipping people, Uprising limited format. That's my transitions. Yeah. All right. So
Uprising limited format. So after these events and in Vegas, the world premiere will feature Uprising. And Uprising Limited is something that gets more and more interesting the more information that comes out. Uprising looks like it's going to be a 3-hero, 2-talent.
What are you throwing?
I'm just excited, dude. I talk with my hands. I was born in Italy. What do you want from me?
You were born in Italy. I remember.
I was born in Brindisi.
So are you like absolutely in love with New Capenna? Is this like your thing? Are you like, oh my gosh, that's like my family on here? Like, I'm also Italian, so I feel like, oh man,
get out of me, get off, get out of here, get out of here. Wow, that got dark. Uprising Limited, the 3-hero 2-talent set that is not from Italy, but may be contained in History Pack 2 available in Italy. I don't know where I'm going with that. Good.
So right now it is apparent, and this might actually not end up being true, but the current speculation and the current no, actually I think somebody proved that there's not room for a third hero in the card numbers.
I thought or a third talent, you mean?
A fourth hero or a
fourth hero,
like with the whole set of cards.
Sure.
So it's I would say the odds are like 95% right now that there are going to be 3 main heroes and 1 talent that is not demonic. What's the talent called?
Draconic.
Draconic. I couldn't find it.
I had to like.
I had to dig it up there.
I felt like I heard the Windows reboot noise going on.
But then you have Icelander, who's just like kind of in the corner. Not in the corner. She is visiting Volcor.
I don't like the lore. I like the lore on this, where she's like searching. She's trying, and so her
This
search
is the only lore
brings her
you've ever read.
Yeah, and the search brings her to Volcor, and I'm cool with that. Like the whole Draconic and then a random Icelander doesn't bother me. I'm cool with how they did it. But what I'm not sure about is how it's going to play from a draft or limited standpoint, right? With double the amount of one card pool against the other.
Let's start from the basics.
Sure.
Tales of Aria or Monarch? Which did you prefer? Draft experience.
I preferred Tales of Aria, and there's arguments for and against both. I preferred Tales of Aria because I liked the notion that there were more versatile card pools in Tales of Aria. With a hero being bound to two different talents, you could build a hero, maybe a couple different ways based on your draft pool, and you weren't necessarily as locked into a hero as quickly as you were in Monarch. And Tales of Aria is my favorite set.
Yeah, which is very different than this current 3 hero set, right?
Yes,
because it's only one talent, or it's just wizard. Because I was gonna go with
ice. What?
But you can't draft the wizard.
You can't play an ice ninja.
You can't draft. You can't play Icelander in any other dynamic other than. Oh, well, maybe you can. I don't know. Maybe they have some sort of spice in there.
Sure, maybe.
Because we don't know. It doesn't seem like it's going to be as dynamic as Tales of Aria was.
Yes, it does feel like it does remove that notion that if I want to play Icelander, I have multiple ways, multiple build paths, or multiple
because they share
the player. Yes, because they share
the talent.
Of the triad, you have 2 available to you, where Icelander has 1 available, and the other heroes have 1 available as well, but it's a wider range of cards. So there is an interesting aspect of do I go with the single lane Icelander build, or do I maybe compete with more people for a card pool, right? So there's that dynamic, which I think will be interesting and limited, especially not just limited draft, but I don't know. It could lead this weird, sealed. It would probably be much harder to play Icelander as it's only a third of the pack is available to you. In theory, this could all be blown apart with however the set comes down.
Right. Yeah. Well, it's this goes to Flesh and Blood being such a different game than where we came from with Magic. Because Magic, you pull a card, you pull a red card, you still have 4 other options to go with, right?
Yeah.
Let's say then you end up going red, green, you go Gruul. Then you're like, okay, these are my 2 main colors, but I can always splash that 3rd color.
Yeah,
it's always possible.
I got a bomb in white. I'm gonna splash a white land and 2 white spells here. Yeah,
right. And whereas in Flesh and Blood, you're still locked into this classic, which is there are incredible pros to that. Incredible pros. It makes a much better draft experience, but it also limits the creativity in the draft or the ability for the creators of the game to leave doors open.
Sure.
Which is going to be an interesting thing in this set, which is new. And then I thought it was also interesting that the hero decks, the Blitz decks, there's no Icelander one.
There's no Icelander. It's only the 2 heroes, which that was kind of interesting, huh? No Icelander.
I think it makes sense though. If I'm at my LGS and somebody comes up to the table and is like, "Hey, I want a Blitz deck to learn how to play the game," I'm not giving them Wizard.
No, there wouldn't have been a Kano Blitz deck either.
Yeah. I'm not that's not the goal of me, is to be like, hey, you want to learn how to play the game, learn this way. So
sure.
I don't know.
I think it's going to be interesting. I'm psyched to see how it shapes out, because I have high hopes. The limited experience in Flesh and Blood has always been pretty cool, and everyone always points to the one oh, you draft Briar and you win. I don't think it was that hyperbolic. I don't think that's the case. I just don't think so. There's a natural predator in Oldhim. You can play around it, and then once you get good enough,
Draft I didn't think was that bad. It was sealed that I thought was pretty,
yeah.
and Prism too. I mean, like Prism and Monarch was absolutely.
That was what we always used to say in Monarch, like, oh, you don't know what to play, you kind of got an even amount of everything. You gotta play Prism. You throw a Prism together for sure.
Yeah. And I will say, like, they did also go against your statement. Like, they also nerfed Briar in draft post release. Like, they errated Briar in draft, which is like I don't know. That's a thing. So, like, I don't know. It's kind of like
she's errated everywhere, right?
Yeah. But I don't know. I'm stoked for it. I think FaB does provide like this new experience in Limited. I still think that Limited is either. I think sealed or draft is still the best way to play Flesh and Blood. The most fun way to play Flesh and Blood.
It's pretty sick. I like to play with my toys. We've talked about this. Like when I draft a bunch, sooner or later, I like to play with all the toys that I acquire. Like,
yeah,
I like to play with the cards. I'm trying Commoner out. Shout out, John Wood on Hometown TCG Ascent is actually building Commoner decks for the channel right now.
Cool.
So we're trying Commoner out. I'm pretty stoked for that. So, but Limited's cool, man. It's all right. I get sick of Limited quick. I think I just suck. I like playing CC. I think I just suck.
I like opening packs.
You started an MTG Arena account and were on a call with me. I was doing research about decks you could play, and all you wanted to do was click the open 10 button over and over again. And then at the end, you're like, whoa, this was dumb. This game's expensive. Like, all you did was open packs. That is not what this is for. That is what everything behind you is.
No, I don't like opening those packs. I like playing sealed. Sealed's fun. We have a sealed armory every month, and I haven't gotten to play in the last couple weeks last couple months because my wife's schedule's now like on Thursdays, so I'm getting my kids to bed while I'm running the event. But like it's a lot of fun to play.
Yeah, so I'm excited. I want to see how this shapes out. I can't wait to see how it shapes out. I'm pumped for that.
Cool. All right, let's move to the market.
The market? Oh, it's about time. My expertise. Let's go.
What do you want to talk about? What kind of market?
The market. The Flesh and Blood one.
Gosh. All right. So there's still a lot of unknowns right now for the Flesh and Blood market. I would say the if you want to track like the fear index, there's still a lot of question marks. I will say Alpha, Arc, and Crew seem pretty stable.
Mm-hmm.
Which is, I mean, like, that's nice. Like, there's definitely still a lot of cards moving, but they're being picked up. I think the question is how many cards get added to the market. Like, we saw a 9/5 heart.
Right.
Last week. We saw 2 9/5 hearts.
Oh, we saw 2. I know we saw 1.
Yeah, one was a pop 1 of 4.
Okay.
So it was like the top 4 pop, and that one sold, I don't remember exactly. It was maybe 34 grand. And then the other one was a 9/5 basic, which sold at 17. Okay. So very different cards, and like at that level, you're talking very, very, very different. Not even in the same ballpark. The question will be how many 9/5 hearts can the market withstand? Like the guy who paid 17 grand for the 9/5 heart, is he going to buy another one, or is it going to go to like
or did he beat someone else out that wants another one bad enough to go find a second one?
Well, and like the question is going to be how many do we see added to the market? Like how, like we've seen 2 in the week. We can't. I don't know that the market can withstand more, the high end market. And then who knows what happens with the legendaries? Like Stormstriders got bought out because of Iyslander. I still think that's a bad play.
We talked about this off stream.
I think that's a terrible play, man. It's like they're gonna print a better equipment for Iyslander, like
maybe not better, a more specialized. Now Stormstriders luckily is pretty versatile, right? It just lets you always play something on your opponent's turn, which is always pretty cool. But we saw something similar. We saw the Skullbone cross rep buyout when Lexi was announced, and that's the point I keep on referencing is everybody bought out every copy of Skullbone cross rep that they could get their hands on, and then Lexi dropped. Everyone's like, oh, kind of weird. And then you saw New Horizon. It was like, well, that's a blowout, right? So it's an option. You know that if you're going to participate in these buyouts, I've told my patrons this, I've told people in the Discord this, if you're going to participate in these buyouts, this stuff can and likely will happen, right? You're going to get blown out from time to time. It will happen.
Well, like LSS has decisions to make in terms of like how many legendaries do they want you to be able to play with. I think
Yes. As
that's
far as
a
for equipment slots.
like if you're gonna make an optimized hero, do you want them? Do you want that deck to cost $1,000 up front because you have 500? Sorry, there's 4 slots. Do you want that deck to cost $800 up front because there's 4 $200 legendaries in it? Or do you want that deck to cost $300 up front because the best in slot on 3 of those areas is a majestic that you can get for $16? Like
Right.
there's a lot of like whoo
That could be a thing. I personally run for Legendary Briar just because it's a
yeah.
fun little deck. But so it's already a thing, and it already can happen. And with equipment being something that's so readily available, it's always, and maybe this is just a bad take on my part. I've never been the market guy, but I've always told people, oh, what should I buy? I said, you don't worry about promos. Sealed is a long play, and you want to buy cold foils, and you want to buy as generic of equipment as you can. So class focused equipment, maybe single talent focused equipment, skull cap, tunic, things like that in
I
cold
hope that
foil
continues.
will always seems like that is a smart play because it's constantly readily available. It has all of the ingredients to be investable cards. It's protected by the reprint policy. It's iconic because every game of Flesh and Blood, it stares you in the face. You get to see it, and they're good enough cards to make a difference in the game, which over the long term will make them historic game pieces, right? They'll be like, oh my God, if something too good replaces Tunic one day, Tunic will still be a historic game piece. So to me,
I hope that never comes.
I do too. I'm with you on that. But there's the notion that these cards are equipment and stuff like that is both cool and dangerous, but it's one of the things I'm most psyched for coming up because you can get now in one product so many alternate treatments of these cards that are not the cold foil version. If I want a legendary, I don't have to buy the cold foil legendary anymore. I can buy the rainbow foil legendary out of Uprising, right? And that's always been the case with first edition and unlimited. But again, the print problems there. So I'm hoping there's pull rates and stuff that solve this. But I've liked that. I like the cold foil legendary.
Let's talk about. I agree. Let's talk about. There's been a couple of comments about the channel fireball thing that are you or content creators complained about not having that cards were too expensive and now boxes are this cheap and you're complaining. What is there's a balance. And like first off, I was the first one to say this. When Unlimited went out of print, when Crew Unlimited went out of print, however many months it was after it was in print, I want to guess it was like 5 months that Crew Unlimited was in print. I can't remember off the top of my head. But when it went out of print, I was like, what was the point of printing it? And what I didn't realize, and I said this, like I said, I told people it's investable now. Buy it, right? Like it's going to be too expensive. What I did not understand and where I was wrong, and I've always said when I'm wrong, I will call myself out and say I was wrong.
Don't worry.
I said this is going to make the game too expensive because I couldn't get boxes as a store and they went out of print. I hadn't been able to get Crew Unlimited or Arc Unlimited for a very long time. They went out of print. I was like, there's no boxes. There's not enough product to withstand the market. I didn't know that Channel Fireball had 1 billion boxes. Like if you would have been like, Louis, they got 7 billion boxes, I would have been like, oh, we'll be fine. The market will be okay. Right. And like, that's the difference for me. Like, and that's where I feel like I was definitely wrong. But in another way, like, I feel like from a store perspective, like we didn't see that product, man. Like
I'm going to hit you with, I'm already mad because you brought this up and not on you.
Okay.
But I'm mad. The argument that players are complaining that cards are too expensive. And now cards are free. That's the dumbest take in my mind. I don't mean to offend anybody. I hate that take. Maybe it's not the dumbest take. That's the wrong way to phrase it. I can't stand that take because first of all, you want to be able to get your hands on things that matter to you. It doesn't matter who you are. You want your things you own to matter to you. And as soon as something matters to somebody, its intrinsic value has gone up. That value has changed because it matters to me. Cards will always be worth different amounts. And every successful trading card game in the history of ever has a cool balance of this chase idea of this rare card that I want to own. And it's coupled with that card doesn't have to be a staple card for decks. Every deck has to have the card. It can be something that you're chasing. But they also have cards that this card slots into 3 of the 6 best decks right now. Well, that card is more expensive than a card of equal rarity and printing of a card that doesn't slot into any decks right now. And that has a blank text box, essentially. That will always be the case. No real player who has played TCGs for a long time thinks that Flesh and Blood cards can effectively be worth all of the same thing and zero. The trading card game does not work that way. It cannot function. So cards, Command and Conquer, you could reprint it until everybody has 3 copies. It will always be worth more than your rusted relics. It doesn't matter how short printed rustic relic is. It will always be worth more. It will always be worth more because people want to play it. And if our community continues to grow, new people want the cards that are played the most. And if you print those, if you just like every time you start a new player, you get a staple, here's 12 staple cards. Here's 4 copies or 4 sets of 3 copies of 12 staple cards every time you register as a new Flesh and Blood player, then why would you ever buy a box of Flesh and Blood?
Yeah.
Nobody would ever buy, and if nobody buys a box of Flesh and Blood, this is why it's so important that Game Source can sell freaking boxes of Flesh and Blood. Because if nobody buys a box of Flesh and Blood, nobody goes to play Flesh and Blood. If nobody plays Flesh and Blood, there is no Flesh and Blood. It's not a thing. Yeah. Sorry, I gotta stop.
Well, no, I agree, and like I think you make good points. That like this is the issue. I want the singles to be going down in price and the boxes to be staying the same. Like I want stores to be able to sell. I said this earlier. I want stores to be able to sell $80 boxes of Unlimited. I think that is a healthy place. Cool. The margins are slightly better than Magic the Gathering there.
They have to be. You don't sell as much.
Well, yeah, you have to. Yeah. Again, let me restate. I can go and host a Magic the Gathering tournament and people will just show up because it's Magic the Gathering. Yep. If I go and host a Flesh and Blood tournament, people don't just magically show up. Like you have to do work It's a new game. It's way more risk for you, the consumer. It's way more risk for the LGS. I want stores to be able to make their margins at $80 a box. I think that's healthy on Unlimited.
I think you're right on that. That's a great take.
A $200 tunic is the same price that it was when Unlimited came out. Like the boxes have gone down. Tunic, I'm looking at my market update right now.
Oh, is it? Okay.
Tunic started out at 200. It went up to 275. It dropped down to 200. The market dried up of Unlimited in April. It went back up to 275. It came back down to 200. At one point, the low on Tunic was $150, and now it's back up to, it looks like 175.
What about Krunic? Because that's an option in that slot, right? Is that a fair question?
Yeah, that's a fair question.
And what are you looking at for this data?
My market update.
Reliable source, please.
Roasted. Lily got roasted.
Boom roasted.
Boom roasted.
Boom roasted. What about
Jim? Gumbo's got a better body than you. Boom roasted. All right.
Did Krunic help? Like, so could players get?
Yeah. Well, Krunic is.
That's weird too, though, because like Crew Unlimited felt like it was late, right? It was delayed and it was late, so the player base had grown far beyond. Maybe Tunic's a bad example that I'm asking you about. Maybe that's on me, but
I mean Tunic the 131, so it's better.
Okay, yeah, it's better, but it helps, but more you'd like it to help more.
Well, my point is that, and this is what I hoped when they announced the history pack. We don't know the pull rates yet, and God, I hope the pull rates are 1 legendary per box. I've said this. The problem for me in Unlimited, was that the pull rates didn't work.
I remember this phone call. This was late night math.
Yeah, the pull rates didn't work. If you increase the legendary pull rate significantly, I'm talking like $1, you are taking value away from the individual legendary. Yes, you are devaluing the individual legendary, but you are also increasing the value of the box because the legendaries are played. If you printed, let's say you printed twice as many tunics, a tunic would still be played very heavily, and the tunic would go down. Maybe a tunic's at $90. Pulling a $90 card is still really, really good, especially if you're pulling a $90 card in this box, a $30 card if it's a Scabskin Leathers in the next box, and a $60 card if it's a, I don't know, Brave Forge Bracers in the third box. Like, if you're not making the product less valuable, you're just making you're making it less spiky.
Sure.
And so that's always been my conversation. Not, I want boxes to be cheaper. I actually want boxes to be $80. I think that's a healthy price point.
Right.
I want the singles to be easier to get, both for a box opening experience where you don't get where you get $20 worth of cards. I mean, this is the Magic model. You don't have a $250 card in Magic or $200 card in a Magic standard box. You don't.
In a collector's box, you do.
Yeah, you have the super fancy foily one, right? But
it's not necessary. There's other pieces of that same card to get that you can play with that are more affordable. Yeah.
So
I was just trolling you.
That's always been my argument. Anyway, I don't know. Market seems weird right now. I don't know. The market's looking at Channel Fireball for sure. I mean, I see a lot of people saying they're not going to buy the next set. I see a lot of people saying like, I'm done putting money into FaB until they figure out the Channel Fireball stuff. I mean, that was like,
that's a lot of comments that we're getting on my video. I'm seeing the same thing, but I do want to spread a caveat that if we just take that and let's not talk about that for a second, let's pretend that doesn't exist. Like, let's just put it in a bubble.
Sure.
I'm Uprising in a bubble, outside, agnostic of the Channel Fireball thing, agnostic of everything else that we've talked about. I'm pretty stoked for it. It looks like a freaking gorgeous set. I'm really excited for how they changed the box and what that's going to do to the market. Maybe we can get into that next week or something like that. But I'm super excited to see like how that feels, because I've always loved opening this Flesh and Blood product. And recently, I've been a little downtrodden opening the product, pulling cold foil potions and cold foil. I mentioned the buckler from Tales of Aria. Like, it was Runaways. Buckle. It was Runaways for me. That was the cold foil. I was like, oh, meh. I was even fine with the rotten old buckler. But I'm excited to see what this does for opening Flesh and Blood product, which I plan on doing myself just because I love the game. I think it's going to add a new energy to that, maybe just because the landscape has changed, and it's going to take me a second to figure that out. So in a bubble, I'm excited for Uprising. I can't wait for the new heroes. The Icelander lore and everything. I don't like lore, but man, it's pretty cool. But as soon as you slap the Channel Fireball problem, it's like it's the Snoopy, it's the Charlie Brown cloud, right? That just is following me around right now. So every time I can spread that cloud, just peer to the sunlight on the other side. I want to remember to do that. So I'm stoked for Uprising. Are you stoked? I know you do more box openings than me. Are you stoked to open Uprising?
I'm stoked for the dragons. Like, I need a new hero. Like, I'm not gonna lie.
Viscerai just got banned.
So. This meta has kind of taken me out of the game in a pretty big way. I hated playing against Bravo and like the whole interaction. Like, and I didn't want to play Bravo. Like, I just not like, I don't like Guardian. Anyway, like, I need a new hero. Like, I'm excited for the new meta. I'm excited.
Who are you? Oh my god!
I don't know.
Like, no! Declare it right now on this podcast.
I did not go Prism. So here's the thing: as soon as the community goes to like this whole waifu culture thing, I'm like, I'm not touching. I'm not like when Prism came out.
That's a weird culture. I'll agree with that.
When Prism came out, I was like, "Oh, this looks sweet," and then everybody was like, "Oh my god, she's so hot! She's so hot!" And I was like,
"She's also a piece of cardboard."
I was like, "All right, I'm not playing Prism now."
That's weird. I'm actually with you. Good take. Great take. Great take.
So as long as we don't go that route with the new illusionist, or if I just ignore that route, the people who are
Yeah,
talking.
it's always gonna happen, dude. You got to earmuffs.
But the issue is that dragon looks like the weakest and the lamest, in my opinion. Dracana Optimi. I just think the dragon looks like a kind of a pansy. He's got like spikes all over him. He looks like kind of a pansy. I want to play as the dragon that's like got the entire fire chest. Dude, all right. The fire chest maw dragon that has like 3 mouths opening and horns could eat the illusionist dragon with its belly. It doesn't even need a mouth. It just opens
If there's
its belly.
3 mouths, there's 3 faces, and there's just more places for me to punch you for saying that. Don't disrespect that dragon.
Dude, that dragon, the dragon in the middle, let me see if I can pull it up for those who are watching. The dragon in the middle is like
disrespect.
That is, it looks so, look at that. That guy, like that dragon is so much cooler. I'll show everybody else the other dragon. It's so much cooler than the one on the right. Like and like the one on the left.
You need to know that dragon disrespect will not be tolerated on this podcast or on this channel.
The one on the left looks like it's like needs the tower to fall asleep at night as a cuddly bear. That dragon right there.
I never understood cancel culture until right now. I want to cancel you. Like I never got it until this moment.
So wherever
keep my dragon's name out your
whatever. I'll either do illusionist or whatever dragon that ends up being.
Okay.
I don't really like the ninja. I don't like ninja. Ninja's this boring.
Dude, I'm so hyped for the new ninja. I'm so hyped for the new ninja. I'm hyped. I do this thing where I want to play something, and then I find out it's like ultra powerful in the meta deck, and I'm like, oh,
yeah,
I don't want to be. So I built Briar all weird because I just wanted to play Briar in a weird way. So I'm probably going to do that. Whichever hero they decide is the worst out of this set is the one I'm going to try to figure out how to win with first. And then after I get stomped a million times, I'll climb up the chain to the next one. That's the way I work.
So I don't know. I don't know. There's 3 dragons, which is interesting because you're not going to see an Icelander dragon. So like that 3rd dragon is,
or is she going to adopt a dragon on her journey through Volcor?
Oh gosh,
dragon hugs.
Like I think I don't know.
This content has divulged into nothingness.
I just like the dragons. I want to play as dragons. I'll probably end up illusionist, honestly.
Let's go, waifu or wifey. I don't know what. I don't know what it's called. I'm bad at this. All right, this has been cool. Do you want to do closing crazy comments?
I don't. I don't.
Why not?
Because I don't want to pull one up. We talked a lot about comment sections this week. Let's give the comment section a rest.
If you commented on the video last week, know that I love and respect you. And I think that you should be kind to the people around you.
All right, fine. Let's do it.
No, I'm not ready. I failed.
No, we're not doing it.
I failed.
I'm out. All right. Leave comments. We appreciate you. It's just an hour and 15 minutes. I'm going to go watch Ozark with my wife.
Dude, that sounds like a blast. You go have fun. Guys, thank you for hanging out. Let us know in the comment section your thoughts on the episode. Make sure you hit like and subscribe on both these channels. And until next time, you guys know me. My name is Josh.
And I'm Louis. Remember to be kind to the people around you. It's on your channel. I guess I'll say it. Be kind to the people around you on Josh's channel too. Goodbye.